Hi, everybody. Welcome to the English 5 Critical Thinking, emphasis on critical thinking, class, Canvas orientation. This is a critical thinking class, so that means some very important things. What we're going to do is we're going to learn, hopefully you've learned in 1A already, but we're going to accentuate the fact that critical thinking is a really important part of being a college student. In fact, it's an important part of being a citizen in the United States or a non-citizen in the United States. It's an important skill that you have as a human being in our society. So we're going to focus in on critical thinking with regards to the different things that are involved with it. The beginning of this course revolves around fallacies, how to access different aspects of logic. And then after that particular element, then we're going to get into the nitty gritty of the class. And we're going to start thinking critically about articles that we read and videos and putting those into discussion posts and also into essays. One of the things about critical thinking is that I've decided that I'm going to focus my critical thinking efforts on a discussion of a lot of things that have happened in the past. So a lot of our focus is on historical elements. I kind of take it from the farther past where we discovered, quote, discovered the United States or the Americas up until the present time. So we're going to be able to take a look at the things that actually brought us to where we are today. What are the aspects of our society that are based on everything that got us here? Now, there's some people that say that we don't know who we are unless we know what our history is. And so I think that's extremely true. I mean, if we don't know what our history is, we're like a blank slate. We're just people who arrived here, and who knows how we got here or what were the elements that comprised our makeup, how we got to be the way that we are. So we're going to focus on that aspect in terms of a social justice theme. So we'll be finding out about a lot of things that are going to really open your eyes. The readings and the videos are very, very interesting. My students have told me that in the past, and I still find them after having read them a lot of times, find that they're incredibly eye-opening and interesting because most of the stuff we find out about in this class, you don't know about. So whether you're a high school student trying to get ahead, or if you're a college student who has taken 1A with me, or maybe you haven't taken it with me, I think that you're really going to enjoy this class. So having said all of that to prepare you for the basics of the critical thinking class, let's get into a look at the actual Canvas shell, in case you're not familiar with my shell or haven't taken an online class before, so that I can familiarize you with what you'll be dealing with in the Canvas shell. I'm going to share my screen. This is the Canvas homepage for the English 5 class, and I'm in the student view right now. So what you see here is what you're going to be seeing once you open the page. I'm going to start our orientation up here in the upper left-hand corner. This is, of course, is the home page. And these are the modules. This is how you're going to get to the nitty-gritty of the class. This is where everything happens in terms of the weekly modules and all the different support modules that I have in there, the extra credit modules. All those things are in the modules pages. If you want to find out what your grades are, you're going to click on this. It's going to show you what your grades are from time to time in the semester. If you get a grade and you want to take a look at it, or you want to review your grades from the past. One thing I want to caution you about in terms of the grades is that lots of times people will contact me and say, oh, John, I got a poor grade on this one thing, and all of a sudden my grade has dropped from an A down to a D. Well, at the beginning of the course, when you get a particular grade, it's going to affect your average because there aren't that many grades to compare it to. So please be patient with that. Make sure that if you get a grade that you didn't get a very good grade on, make sure you contact me and find out why. That's one of the key issues about being a proactive student, is to find out what's going on if you get a bad grade. But don't worry so much about grades early on, because if you start to improve, then everything will sort of even itself out as the semester goes along. Here's the syllabus link up here. So let's take a look at the syllabus. Up here at the top is my English page, my English site that I used to use a lot before I got into teaching in Canvas. But if you want to, you can still take a look at that. If you're taking a Spanish class, I've got a Spanish aspect of my site that is really, really cool. It's really helpful if you're taking Spanish. It's got a lot of readings in there that are good for beginners and so on. I want you to read everything that's on the syllabus. Don't skip anything. I'm going to skip ahead here because we don't have time to go over the whole thing word by word. But what I want you to know about the reading material is that you do not have to go out and buy anything. You don't have to buy a textbook. You don't have to buy anything. Everything is supplied for you within the shell itself. So that, saves people a lot of money in terms of taking a college course. Sometimes it's $60 to $100 to take a class, but everything here is supplied within the shell itself. Equipment requirements. This is about what critical thinking is. These are the student learning outcomes here. And then I want you to read about discussion posts. Discussion posts are a big, big, big part of the class. It's 45%. It's the biggest part of the class. So I really want you to focus very heavily on your discussion posts because a lot of the learning in this class comes from interaction with other students, with interaction, making connections between texts, because that's where critical thinking comes from, is making connections between the past and the present, between different texts that we're reading, using quotations, etc. So discussion posts are a big part of the class. Essays, anything you want to do a revision, you can do that. Attendance and participation, of course, you don't have to be in class. And as long as we're here, I should actually mention to you, there are no required sessions that you have to be present. All of it is asynchronous in the sense that you don't have to be there. I don't have any Zooms where you have to be present. Here are the evaluation criteria. This is what I base your grade on. The argument and fallacy exam I mentioned already at the beginning of the course, not a lot of it, but the first few weeks revolves around this argument exam that we take, and there's a handout for it. It revolves around the elements of logic and the elements of an argument. Discussion post 45%, the quizzes 10%, 2 essays 30%, and the final exam essay 10%. So a bit about grading, how I grade. I'm an instructor who believes in grading up. If you could see my hands, it would be 2 thumbs pointing up, because I really want to give you the highest grade I can possibly give you. If I see that you've scored an 86, 87 on the final tally, I'm going to give you an A. If I see that you scored a 76, 77, 78, I'm going to give you a B, and so on. So I like to give you the benefit of the doubt. I grade on a steep curve. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't try hard to get as good a grade as you possibly can. You should, because all of that revolves around learning. Grades and learning and progress, making progress in the class, it all comes together. So just because I grade on a curve doesn't mean that you shouldn't try hard to get as good a grade as you can. Now at the bottom level of that whole scale, I really don't like to fail students. And so most of you in this class will get at least a C. We're going through some very tough times. I don't really want to give anybody a D or an F. And so I try to give as many people as I can at least a C. Okay, so that's the syllabus. Make sure you read the whole thing. And then let's go back to the homepage because I want to show you some more stuff on the homepage. So here is an extra credit opportunity. This particular picture, which is actually a picture of a snapshot of a painting that was from the National African American Art Exhibition that was in San Francisco a couple of years ago. There's some more of these paintings in the modules page. There's a whole section on the modules. You can get an extra credit by doing a critical analysis of this painting. And I talk about that in the actual assignment portion of this extra credit. If you want to learn more about my past, you can click on that, click on my picture there. It'd be nice if you could take the time to go through this and read these and look at the civil disobedience section, the powerful people section. The theme for the course is social justice. So that's what we're going to be dealing with a lot in this course. And a lot of the other side of the coin of social justice is, of course, social injustice. And that's what the Black Lives Matter movement got its start in, is that a lot of people not caring about Black lives and actually putting them in jeopardy and killing a lot of Black people, especially by the police. That's part of, that's why I put this here, so that you can actually connect up with the Black Lives Matter movement. So a big part of being a successful student is to be able to contact your instructor. So these are the different ways that you can contact me. One of my favorite ways is through Zoom. Zoom is one of the best ways for me to work one-on-one with you. As a matter of fact, having Zoom and being in an online class has made my online teaching so much more effective than I ever was able to be in a face-to-face class. Before we had to set up office hours, and you might be able to make an office hour, you might not. You know, now that I've got Zoom, we can make arrangements to meet on Zoom. We can work one-on-one. It's so much easier to do that. There are a lot of other elements about the face-to-face class that were not as effective as the online class. For example, there may be a lecture that I give, and in class you had to take notes on it and be sure you got everything. And if you weren't a good note taker, or you weren't present or whatever, then once it's gone, it's gone. But in this, if there's a lecture and you need to go review something that I said, just go back in the modules and click on it again, and you get the whole lecture all over again. So a lot of different aspects about this online environment that I find is much more effective, and students are much more successful in my online class than they ever were in the face-to-face class. So this is how you connect up with Zoom, okay? So if you want to do a Zoom with me, you know where to do it. Go to the homepage. I also make myself available by phone. If you need something right away and you need to talk to me, give me a call. This is a Google Voice number, and it connects up to my cell phone. So if you call this, then I'll hook up with you. If I don't catch you right away, you can leave me a message, and then I can call you back. And there's email in the Canvas system. Don't email my Peralta email address, but in Canvas, this is an effective way. I say that I commit to contacting you within 24 hours, but usually it's much less than that, because I check my email 2, 3, 4 times a day. And if I see an email, I'll answer it right away. Sometimes it'll be late at night. You send me one early in the morning, I send you one a little bit later, because I'm an early bird. I get up very early lots of times when I've got grading to do. So I will get back to you on email. The problem with email is that it can often be misunderstood. You have to be very specific in an email to me. I say that slowly so that I can catch your attention. You have to be clear about what you're asking. You know, if you have a question about something, tell me where it came from. What was the date of the assignment? What was the specifics? What was the title of the assignment? If it's about an assignment, tell me what your question is about. Tell me where it comes from, and I can answer your question or be specific in other ways, and then it works. But if you don't do that, I'm liable to give you the wrong answer to a question I think you're asking, and you meant something completely different. So the Canvas chat tool is a synchronous way of our communicating. So there's no misunderstanding here, because if I misunderstand you, then you can answer me right back. What you do with the chat tool is most people don't like to use this, but it seems like a very handy tool to me. We arrange to be in the shell at the same time, and then we just connect up via chat. So down here is the class orientation module. It's just a link to the module that I will show you in a minute. Here's the modules link. So that's how you start the class. You go to the modules link. Down here are some guides to the Canvas tutorials, which are super tutorials. They tell you how to do everything in Canvas, in case you are unfamiliar with the Canvas format. So let's take a look at the modules. I'm going to shift over to the instructor view so that you can see it from, so that the whole class actually appears here. Otherwise, some of it's going to be grayed out because I haven't opened it all up to you yet. So the student orientation resources and support, I might want to move that down a bit, down to here. Up here is the video library. So I've got a lot of videos here that you might be interested in. So take a look at these. If you have some extra time during the course of the semester and you want to take a look at some videos that I found extremely interesting, then you can take a look at these videos in here. I provide them to you. They're all within the format of the shell, the Canvas shell. How to dis and dat module. This is a really important module for you in order to do what you need to do to be successful in this particular shell. Here are the Canvas tutorials. As I said before, I think these are the ones that I think that would be very useful to you. Of course, they're very general. They're not specific to what your needs are. So how-to resources from Prof. John, how to get support from me. I mentioned that already on the front, but this gives you more specifics. How you and I will use Canvas for this class. Check that out, important. How to post a discussion for this class. Very specific on posting discussions. Also, when you post your first discussion, I also go over this for you so that you know how to post a discussion. How to annotate online for this class. I emphasize the importance of annotation in this class and in my other classes as well. How to do MLA, both for formatting and for citation. There's the resources here. How to introduce authors and sources. In your essays, how to organize, outline your essays, etc. Anatomy, so all those good resources in there. How to convert, now these video tutorials are extremely useful. These I go through all of the different technical issues that you're going to need to be able to do to be a successful student within this Canvas shell. So go over these, familiarize yourself with the different headings that are in here, so that if it comes time for you to do one of these things, you can say, John had a tutorial on this. For example, everybody should know that you have Microsoft Word on your computer. I mean, in your shell, so that you don't have to have it on your computer in order to use Microsoft Word. It is in your Outlook email program. So all students at Peralta, they have Microsoft Word. You just need to know where to find it to use it. So that's lets you know, it shows you where to get it in your Outlook email program. Okay, how to dis and that. So student orientation, resources and support. Canvas, this is the Peralta one, which is kind of general. I put it in there because that's the one that they provide you with. I should have that in there. I think other things are better than that one. How to get support, help from your instructor, Canvas, and this class. Who is this Prof. John dude anyway? I like to point this out to people because it's good to know who your professor is. And I let you know that I'm not the traditional professor who, went through high school and graduated and then went straight into college and then went straight into graduate school and then jumped in and then got a job. Well, I, dropped out of high school. I did a whole bunch of illegal things for a lot of years. And I, did a lot of drugs and alcohol. And then at the age of 45, I went up to Merritt College to see what would happen. And I did really well after that. But this will tell you the whole story. So check it out and see what you think. These are some pictures of Mary, my wife of over 50 years. We're still together. And me as hippies. And here you get to meet Mary in person in a little video. So headed back to the modules. So here are some stills, my welcome video, so check that out. My expectations for the class, how I work extra credit into your final grade. With Canvas, they don't have a way for you to just sort of weave it into, so whenever you do an extra credit, it is reflected in your grade. It doesn't work that way. So I tell you how I work it into your grade. If you do extra credits, rest assured, it's going to matter, and I'm going to work it into your grade. I tell you how I do it here. It comes at the end of the semester, not during the semester. Can I turn in an assignment late? People are always asking me throughout the semester if they can turn in assignments late. And I get tired of hearing that from people and it's time consuming to answer that question over and over and over again. Yes, you can. And here I explain when you can and when you can't. There are only a very few assignments where I say due date firm. And if it says that, no, you can't. But that's only a very few assignments. Everything else you can turn in late. It's good. It's a good idea to stay up on things because when you get behind, it's very difficult to get caught up. Some people can do it and still do very well, but it's tricky. So here are the extra credit assignments, the early ones. Of course, I've got some ones that are listed later on too. Email me and you get 10 points. That's a simple one. In order to get to put up your picture profile, which gives you another 10 points. I really like to see who the students are that I'm dealing with. Plus, it's really great when you do your posts and your discussions for other people to see who you are and for you to see who other people are. So that's why it's really nice to be able to have a picture of you. And don't put up a long shot of you standing next to your, your car at 50 feet. I want to see a close-up of your face in order to get this 10 points credit. Otherwise, we can't see who you are. You could be anybody. There's another extra credit points for introducing yourself, and then the analytical critique of that painting on the front page, plus a discussion on critical race theory is right there. So this is the beginning of the course, week number 1. I'm going to make the first couple of weeks available pretty early on so that you can get started before the actual semester starts. Can I turn in an assignment late? I make this the first one in week 1, 2, and 3. So to catch your attention so that you'll see, okay, yes, you can. And the class introduction, all the different things that you can do during the course of the modules. And the way I work these modules, at a certain point, I will make them available to you. You can check through them and you can see what's coming up throughout the semester, but you can't always work on them. I open them up at a particular point. It says down at the bottom when I'm going to open this one up. I'll open this on August 19th. So the way I work it is that I like you to have the week that we're working on plus 1 week in advance so that you can be working ahead if you want. So I'll set it up so that the Friday ahead, I will set it up for 2 weeks so that you get to have 2 weeks to work with. So it's kind of tricky exactly what those dates are, but that's generally how I work it. Then at the end of the semester, I make several weeks available at the end. So in case there's someplace you need to go and you need to work ahead and get out of the class early, then you can do that. Now, something I don't want to forget to point out is how you work through these modules is incredibly important. Because a lot of times people will look through it and you can see here, hey, this is worth 10 points. This is worth 15 points. This is worth 10 points. So people say, okay, I'm going to jump ahead to those things that are worth points. And I'm going to do those because that's the most effective way to do it because I want to get the points, right? Well, the problem with that is if you do that, then you're not going to learn how to do the things that get you the points. These are the only end result of it. So it's incredibly important with all of these different modules, all of the different elements of the modules, that you go through them element by element by element, doing each one at a time, because that's where you learn how to do the things that you then need to do that get you the points. Because if you jump ahead to the points, then you're going to liable to get a 0 for that because you don't know how to do what you're being asked to do. Okay, so then at the end of these modules, you will find that after the last week, that there are some extra credits down here. There's some proofreading extra credits. And there's a due date that's firm for the proofreading exercises. And I call them proofreading exercises instead of grammar exercises for a particular reason. That is because if you study these as if it's grammar and not proofreading, then after you study them, then what happens, and the reason that you've got writing with these errors at this point, if it's a problem for you, is that as soon as you learn a grammar element, if you don't apply it right away to your writing, you just forget it and it's gone forever. So I call them proofreading exercises because what you want to do is, if you're finding that I say you should do the sentence fragments exercises because you're writing with sentence fragments, and I'll do that if I see that in your writing, then go straight to the sentence fragment exercises, do the exercises, and then start proofreading for sentence fragments, utilizing what you learn in the exercises, because they will teach you how to find them. That way you won't be writing with sentence fragments for the rest of your college career and professional career, which is going to be a real problem for you, because if people see you writing and you don't know where the beginnings and the endings of sentences are, then you're going to be labeled as someone who doesn't know what they're doing. And that's not a good thing. Subject verb agreement, same thing. All of these different elements are the specific elements that are really going to be important for you to show everybody that you know what you're doing. And then once you do them, you proofread for them. That way they will stick. Okay, so that's the shell, the modules within the shell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the share so you can see me again. And I'm going to say goodbye. And I hope that you stuck around to the end of this and that you're still here and that you're going to enjoy being in this class, because most students at the end of this class indicate to me that they've really gotten a lot out of the class, that they've found the readings and videos extremely informative and interesting and eye-opening. They've actually started to enjoy history as opposed to dreading it like you did in high school. So enjoy the class. I'm glad that you stuck it out to the end of this orientation, and I hope you stick it out to the end of the class and get a very good grade and make a lot of progress. Thanks a lot.